JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. So the recent seminar that I did on ERTC, this is coming out of that. Here's a short mini from that seminar too. If I decide to make this one public, just as an FYI, you are able to sign up for this for instant access to all of this. In the body of the video, you'll find a link. At the end of this, I'll go through what you're getting. But what I want to go through is on the seminar, and what you have access to is calculating the average number of employees. This is key to the ERTC. And in 2020, if you have 100 or less employees, or in 2021, if you have 500 or less employees, it's a huge difference in what you are able to include wage-wise. And the big difference is that if you're under those thresholds, okay, if you're under those thresholds, you get to include all wages other than owners and family. Oh, that's 50%. Or less get to be included. Over 50% owners and then related to them do not get to be included. Nonetheless, if you're over 100 in 2020, over 100 employees, if you're over 500 employees in 2021, then you only get to include wages paid to employees that were not working. So you get to include the wages and health insurance only of employees that weren't working. Well, that definitely changes things in terms of the amount, because if you're 100 or less or 500 or less employees, it doesn't matter if the employee worked or not. If they did, you still get to include it. They didn't, you still get to include it. So this is why you want to know your average number of employees. Now, the one thing I'm going to note to you, and many, they hear it and then they forget it, or they hear it and they don't think it makes sense, or they hear it and they're just like, oh, must have heard that in error, or maybe JJ's wrong. So I want you to note that in the IRS Notice 2021-20, you can go to FAQ number 31. I give you a link to that there in the seminar down here. I give you a link to the 2021. But nonetheless, when we circle back and we're now looking at this for both 2020 and 2021, we are going to figure out the number of employees in terms of these purposes for ERTC based on 2019. And it is full-time employees. Full-time employees, okay, per the IRS, per the law, is full-time is 30 hours a week or 130 hours a month. And pretty simple, really. But you're just going to take the number of full-time employees, how many were there in January, February, March, all the way till December. You're going to add these up, okay? You're going to add up those, and then you're going to divide it by 12. So when you're taking into account then for 2020 and 2021, this is somebody that would be 100 or less for 2020. Of course, they're 500 or less in 2021. And so this employer here would be able to now include a massive number of wages compared to if they were larger. You might just take note of this if you weren't in business all of 2019, or you weren't in business at all in 2019, then this walks you through how to determine your average number of full-time employees, which is straight out of the IRS notice there, and it's just a different way to calculate it. But if you've been in business the entire 2019, then you're going to include that. Now, that's kind of a quick run through related to that. If I have chosen to share this publicly, what I wanted to show you is in this seminar, you can go to a link, get an instant access to this. You're going to get instant access to everything in the first seminar, but in the second seminar, here is a over almost 3.5 hour seminar. I have a PowerPoint that I go through. You can see it's a 148-page PowerPoint that I go through during the seminar. And then I have an executive summary where I go through that with you. I give you a nice one-pager. And then these are PDFs, but examples on the calculations of ERTC for both years, flow charts on how to calculate or know when you benefit and under which provisions. And then I go through this economic value. So these are all Excel spreadsheets. I show you how to figure out if PPP is more valuable than ERTC. A hint, it is. How to calculate the number of employees, the gross receipts test, how to, this one's quite valuable, I think, but how to, in essence, pull together the wages, because wages also include the health insurance. So it's breaking down how to pull both the health insurance together along with the wages, and then how to ensure that you're getting the max ERTC and PPP loan forgiveness. So I do a kind of a deep dive. It's part of the seminar, but then I also give you the calculation on how to go through, because we know there are some differences related to that. And then, well, how do I just calculate the ERTC? So I've got it down here, as you can see below, 2 different examples for 2021 and 2 different examples for 2020. And then I walk through all of the IRS FAQs that came out in this video and highlight the major ones. We went through and just pulled out what are all the questions, so that when you find your question, you can more easily, when pulling this up, go to whatever page it is on 102 pages. How to prepare Form 7200. This is how to get your money in advance of filing a Form 941. You fax it to the IRS, but I walk through with you how to prepare it, how to file it. Obviously, this is a link to the IRS, but then I walk through the Form 7200. Here's the one that I walk through. I highlight the instructions for you of what applies to the ERTC, because it applies to the other 2 credits as well. And then I walk you through preparing the Form 941X, the little caveats that you have throughout that. So that actually included a little PowerPoint, 26 pages, kind of walking through it. But I actually then go through and I take a Form 941 with actual numbers, and then I show you, well, how would we then report a 941X so that you're able to get the money. And as you can see, I pull the numbers together and walk through the caveats, and then I pull together the 941X instructions, highlight the key items related to ERTC, and then you are able to get access to the first seminar, and there's not a lot of overlap. The second seminar was a lot more in depth with those Excel spreadsheets and the calculations and the nitty-gritty related to some of the things like aggregation. But in the first seminar, walk through a lot of the basics. It has a PowerPoint. It's 2.5 hours. I do a deep dive research video to really kind of show that more businesses qualify than many think, especially essential businesses. The IRS almost goes out of their way to show you how essential businesses still qualify, and really how non-essential businesses will not qualify. Yes, you are seeing some of the same things that are in the second seminar, because those that came to the first seminar weren't automatically included in the second seminar. So the reason that you would want to get the second seminar is that you're getting both. And then I've just got all these different links. This is a different Form 7200 video talking about some of the issues that you may come across related to that. PPP links, walk through the aggregation issues in detail. I pull up the law, pull up the different aspects that is all in here, literally doing a deep dive. Talking about owners and spouses to help you make a decision if you're going to include owners and spouses and related individuals. I think it's clear related individuals aren't, but owners and spouses still seems to be up in the air. And then, have you thought about the tax aspect and what's lost in the ERTC, how to consider that with your tax planning? How do you actually report this on your tax return, as well as for financial purposes? And as you can see in both these videos, I'm bringing up law. I'm not just giving you commentary. I'm bringing up law, showing you how to look at it. It helps you then make your decision on how things apply. And then as a pure bonus, these seminars are not about the sick and family leave credit, but for employers here, I give you, if most valuable, the calculations that we use inside my practice. So if you have a business and they have all 3 tax credits here related to an employee with COVID, or an employee that's caring for somebody with COVID, or you have an employee that's unable to work caring for a child, I give you this calculation. It's just a pure bonus. It's not what this seminar is about, as well as then the things that go along with that, the links. But then also the self-employed do qualify for those credits. The self-employed don't qualify for the employee retention tax credit, but the self-employed on their self-employed earnings does qualify for the, if with COVID, caring with COVID, or they're having to take care of a child that's, in essence, that school was closed down. And then I give you links to the entire law. So bottom line is check out the link. I should have said it earlier, but $197 for all of this stuff, I think you would see is massively value, especially with all the Excel spreadsheets that you are getting. So if you made it to here, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And hopefully that video helped you in itself. And just want to tell you that I appreciate you. All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. And then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. Have a great one.